Hello, welcome to another live. Here I am after a couple of weeks off. I was in the UK and I was with family, and so I was prioritizing that. And now I'm back with the weekly classes. So, welcome. Thank you for being here. How are you this week? How's everything going? How's the week started for you? So, I just wanted to have a little check in. And this live, I'm going to be talking about something that a lot of people overlook, that is something that where we can find a lot of answers, where we can really find out things that, if we're struggling with something, if we're struggling with something in a relationship or work or money or health or whatever the topic, whatever we're struggling with, that this is a place where we can, this particular thing that I'm going to talk about is something that we can find answers. And most people overlook this, especially in the wellness field. There's this constant searching out there, looking for the latest technique, looking for the latest workshop, looking for the latest teacher or the new thing. The mind constantly wants to seek and see, find the new things or the latest thing. There's been a lot of focus over the years on mindset and coaching, and then there's been a lot of focus on the unconscious mind and the neuroscience, and then there's been more recently more focus on trauma and the somatics and really working with the body, and it just keeps on going. There's lots of different areas, and whilst a lot of these things are really useful and a lot of these things can bring a lot of answers and insight and healing, it's so important to come back to what's here within, and it's so important to come back to the present moment. And this is what I want to talk about in this particular live, that often people are seeking out there, and this is something I wrote about recently in the last newsletter. So those of you signed up to the newsletter would have heard me talk a little bit about this. That this is almost like there's this, I think I called it this current disease. It's quite a strong term, but is what I see in society at the moment, is that there's this disease of seeking beyond ourselves and forgetting that there's a lot of wisdom in the here and now. And yes, plant medicine for some people can be really healing. NLP hypnosis can be really useful for some people. Yoga or somatic experiencing can be really useful for many people. Though it's really about waking up to what life is simply presenting right here, right now. Coming back to the present moment. And often we forget this. That so many people, the focus is on the external, constantly looking and seeking out there and forgetting that what is actually right here, right now, in everyday life, in the mundane, what people might consider the mundane, but when you're washing the dishes, when you're going to buy your groceries, when you are setting the washing machine for your clothes, you're having a shower, you're going to the toilet, all these different things. It's in these activities and coming back to the present moment and really coming back to, okay, what's here? What's here? What is life bringing to my attention right now? How is my body? How's my breath? What's in this present moment? And from there we get many answers. From there we gain more insights, because how the society is designed at the moment, especially with technology and social media, that there's a lot of noise, there's a lot of information, there's a lot of stimulation. And this is what's happened over the years. Our minds have become rewired to really seek distraction and seek the next thing. Anything that we do repeatedly over time rewires the brain, rewires how our mind is thinking, and it creates habit, it forms a habit. So if we're scrolling, if we're swiping, like this movement, like we're scrolling or swiping, and we have this repeated habit, and we do this, like even if we're on a social media app and we do that like 5 or 6 times in just one day, already that is forming a habit, that's rewiring the brain. So it's like this constant reinforcement of seeking and looking and constantly, what's the next thing? What's the next thing? And have you noticed that a lot of these platforms, they know human psychology? They, like, for example, Netflix or YouTube or Instagram, like when you viewed one video, it automatically pops up with the next. It wants you to see the next thing. So they know how this works. And it's when we become aware of this ourselves as well, then that opens up awareness and choice. And when we have awareness and choice, that's a place where we can create change. If we just continuing like mindlessly, not really thinking about it, like not bringing that awareness, then we just continue. We keep reinforcing that habit. We keep strengthening that neural pathway and really reinforcing that. And so by becoming aware of it and really noticing, okay, yes, like here I am scrolling, here I am swiping, here I am like going on to the next. What if we just are present with what is right now? So let's do a little practice. Let's not just talk about this, but let's do a little practice. So if it's okay to do so, obviously, if you're driving and operating machinery, then focus on what you're doing, and you probably shouldn't be watching this video anyway. Though, if it's okay to do so, what I'd like you to do is to take an inhale, exhale, and as you exhale, soften the front of the body. So loosen the jaw, loosen the tongue, soften the belly, relax the belly. Just allow this wave of softness to flow down the front of the body. And depending where you are, what you're doing, whether you're lying down or standing up or sitting down, like if you can find some contact with the ground, like preferably with your feet on the ground, that's really useful. And just notice your feet, the contact of your feet against the ground. And just ever so gently press your feet into the ground. Not to create tension, but just to really notice that contact, like really feeling that contact of your feet against the ground, and that the ground is always there supporting us. And often we forget this. We're living life up here, like up in the head, and with all of these like thoughts and worries, and often the mind is either in the future or the past. When we come back to the present moment, the breath, soften the front of the body, soften the belly, feet on the ground, and really notice that contact and recognize that life is supporting you right now. Even if it might not feel like it, and even if there may be a lot of stories or things related to any current situations you're in, just notice right here, right now, in this moment, so that the stories are going often in the past and the future, but right in this moment, you're hearing my voice, you're watching this video, notice the contact of your feet against the ground, and notice that life is supporting you. There's this contact, there's this support. Just allow that breath to slow, to deepen. And then up the back of the spine, gently lift the spine, like extend the spine upwards ever so slightly. Almost as if you have this helium balloon, just ever so slightly lifting up as you continue that breath. So you've got this softening down the front and this lifting up the back. Think of someone or something that makes you smile. And on the next exhale, sound out ah if you're in a position to do so. So inhale. Ah. Okay, great. So you can do this with your eyes closed or open, though preferably with your eyes open. That's wonderful, because then you can really learn how to come back to the present moment and center in your body, like really noticing, okay, yeah, that you can do that anytime, anywhere. It's like, yeah, I could be standing in a queue in a shop and I could connect with the breath, feel my feet on the ground, gently extend the spine. Or I could do that when I'm sitting in a restaurant. I can do that when I'm working. But these are simple, effective tools that we can just come back to the present moment and connect with the body. And this really helps us to, it's almost like we're arriving. So notice what's different. Like notice what's different within your body now. Like just after doing that for a couple of minutes, like what do you observe? What's coming to your awareness? As I often say, it's the simple things that can be the most powerful, really coming back to this present moment. And it's from here that we can gain insight, that we can gain answers, that we can gain clarity, that we can gain, like, reconnect to our strength, that we get, there's so many benefits. It doesn't happen when we're caught up in like reminiscing and going over like old stories of the past and like what we should have done or shouldn't have done, or like going over the future and thinking about what may happen or what may not happen. Obviously, we want to have some ability to plan and obviously some ability to remember memories, to learn from them or to like cherish them if there are like fond memories that we've had. Though where like what the problem lies is that like when we're so much in the past or the future that we forget about the gifts right here right now, and we forget that there's so much medicine in the right here right now, and we forget that there are answers in the right here right now, because the mind might be focused on, oh, like the worry of the future or like the past and like, oh, what shall I do? All our attention goes up here. And we're just like in this loop of stories within the mind. And we drop down into the body, we arrive, we land, we come back. And then we're able to gain more clarity, like we're able to navigate situations from the whole of us, not just the head, the whole of us, our whole body, our whole energy system, everything. So yeah, try that. Just notice what the breath does. Notice what connecting with the feet on the ground does. Notice what extending the spine upwards does. And this is not a click your fingers once and then it's all sorted and that's it. You don't ever have to do it ever again in your life. That's the mind wanting that, and the ego. It's a practice. It's a continuous practice of returning home. And I often say that life is the meditation. It's not that we just sit down and we meditate for 5 minutes and then that's it. Of course, like meditation is really powerful and really beneficial. I'm not saying to not do it. By all means, like continue. Though it's remembering that, yeah, like everyday life, whatever we're doing, like when we bring that mindfulness and we bring that attentiveness to that can bring so many gifts. And when we see life as a meditation, so not just mindfulness, but as a meditation, so it's like there will be moments where the thoughts will be there, like the mind will be there with those stories, and we might drift off. And then we remember and we come back. We come back to the breath. We come back to the body. We come back to the present moment. And then maybe the mind drifts off again. And then we remember. We come back and we come back to the body. We come back to the present moment. And it's constant moments of this, just the same in meditation. In meditation, you're there meditating and the mind will drift off. You notice thoughts, and then you come back to a point of focus, whether that's a candle, a mantra, the body, whatever. And we can continue doing this in life. The mind drifts off, then come back to washing the dishes. Not many people wash the dishes by hand nowadays, but yeah, like I do. So like, yeah, washing the dishes or putting the dishes in the dishwasher, and then the mind might drift off again and then come back when you're folding up the tea towels or you're sweeping the floor, or you're like, the mind drifts off and then you come back when you're working and you just come back to the breath. You notice the chair that you're sat on, and then you continue working. So it's this constant checking in and coming back, coming back. And in terms of like finding the answers, like if there's a particular challenge that we're going through, I really believe that our life experience is a reflection of whatever's happening internally. So our life experience is filtered according to our inner blueprint, like what beliefs and values we hold, like different experiences that we've had in the past. This all influences how we experience things. I won't go into it in depth because I've talked about it in many other lives, and this is when I go into things in more in terms of the NLP. Like everyone has their map of the world, everyone has their pair of glasses that they look through life with, and it's just noticing like, okay, yeah, like this is influencing my experience, like that's the reality, and then this is my perception of reality, and everyone has their own perception of reality. Everyone's like seeing through a different pair of glasses. So one person might see the world really negatively, and another person might be a complete optimist and see it completely differently. And then someone else might have a different experience. Like everyone has their own experience. And it's just noticing, like being aware of that. Like, okay, yes. Like how am I perceiving life? How am I perceiving myself, others, life, the experience? Like what stories am I telling myself about life? That influences our experience in life. And if we want to gain answers, if we want to find out what's going on within our unconscious mind, we just need to pay attention with what's happening in our life. Do we constantly come up against repeating patterns? Or do we constantly have like similar things happening in relationships, or similar experiences with money, or similar experiences with health, or whatever the topic is? Do we see any patterns there? If there are any patterns, then that's an indication that there could be some belief or something there within the unconscious that's influencing the experience. So if we want to find answers, like come back to the present moment, like what's happening in your life presently? Explore that, get curious, like really, really explore that and just notice like, that's interesting. Like I keep on coming across certain types of people. Like there's one story that I told my students years ago. Like this happened so many years ago, though it's a good example to offer. So many years ago, I was coming back from the airport, and I was like, so I was coming back, and then I wanted to get a taxi, and I noticed that I was a little bit like annoyed to cut the trip short. Like I felt like I wasn't long enough. I didn't spend a long time with my family. And so then I got a taxi to go back to where I was headed. And the taxi driver that I got was so angry. Like he was just like, it was literally like his worst day ever. And he was just moaning about everything. And I thought, oh goodness, this is going to be a long journey. And And he was just like complaining about the weather, complaining about the drivers, complaining about the government, complaining blah blah blah. But there was this energy of anger, and it was thanks to him, because in that moment I got curious and I was observing that, and I was like, why did I attract such an angry driver? Like, is there some anger in me that I haven't looked at? Is there some anger that I've overlooked? Because life is constantly like reflecting things back so that we can look at it if we choose. And I got curious and I was like, yeah, I haven't acknowledged the anger of feeling like my trip was too short and needing to come back and wanting to stay longer with the family. And as soon as I started to acknowledge that within myself, and I was like, okay, yeah, anger, and just notice that and feel that within my body. And it was so funny because, like, miraculously, like, the driver, he just started calming down and he just went quiet. Like, he's just like stopped creating such a big scene. And like, it was in that moment where I saw that reflection, I was like, wow, this is really interesting. So if we pay attention to what's happening and we get curious and we think, okay, like, what is that shining a light on within myself? Doesn't mean that we have to reflect on everything and like, because sometimes people go too far the other way. But with any like key things or like something that sticks out to us, that we could get curious and be like, that's interesting. That's interesting. Like what is it within myself that I haven't looked at yet? So yeah, that's an interesting thing to notice. And yeah, I've had many experiences like that, and it's just, this is how like the present moment is constantly teaching us. When we're in nature, nature's constantly giving us information. We can learn so much when we just observe, notice, come back to the body, come back to the present moment. We're like, okay, yeah. A lot of the struggles are coming because we've disconnected in some way. Disconnected from our body, disconnected from our emotional self, disconnected from like the inner child, like disconnected from other people, disconnected from nature, disconnected from like disconnect. A lot of the issues that we see in ourselves, in others, in the world is because of some form of disconnect. And this is where reconnection comes in. Reconnection, and it starts with the breath. Back to the breath, reconnection. And I know for some of you this might bring some new information. For other people, might be like, I know this already. This might be a recap. And that's the thing. It's not a click your fingers once and it's done. It's this practice. So here I am, just giving a reminder, a loving reminder, back to the breath, back to the body, back to the present moment. And notice what shifts when you do that. So yes. So I'll leave that there for today's teaching. I just wanted to share a couple of things that are coming up. So those of you who are in the area of Barcelona, and those of you who are not, like, there's many different things for both of you. So if you're in the area of Barcelona, next week on the 18th, so the 18th of July, I have the last women's circle before the summer months, and this is all about negative self-talk. So if you really want to like feel even better about yourself and to learn how to navigate negative self-talk, if you're noticing that there's a lot of like shoulds and have-tos and must-dos, like what we call model operators in NLP, and putting a lot of pressure on yourself and like criticizing yourself when you look at yourself in the mirror, or like many different things coming up, like, or when you do things, or in the workplace, or in relationships, negative self-talk. Like, this is such a huge topic, and we're going to be talking about this and exploring how we can transform our relationship with it, because there are ways to do that. It's not about getting, like, flicking a switch and it suddenly disappears because as long as you're human with an ego and a soul, like, there'll be this there'll be the intuitive self, and there'll be the mind, the monkey brain, and all those different aspects of the mind that sometimes can bring struggles for some people, for many people. So we'll be talking about that and how we can transform our relationship with that and really cultivate even more self-tenderness with ourselves. So that's in Barcelona next week. And if you want information, just send me a WhatsApp, +34 6226 98673. I'll also, once I finish this live, I'll put the link in the description as well, so that'll be there. And if you are also, at the time of this going live, Wednesday, the 10th of July, I'm doing an embodied NLP meetup on the beach. And this is donation based. So if you want to just come along, enjoy a nice evening on the beach, learn some useful tips and tools to boost confidence and feel good about yourself, that will be on the beach. And also I'll put the details once this live's finished. I'll put the details in the description. And yes, so that's the 2 live things coming up. Those are the last things before the summer. And then I will be back again in September with more events, more things happening, and the lives will continue as well. I'll have a little pause over the summer in terms of these live classes because I'll be traveling, I'll be with family, and I will be doing some trainings as well. So plenty of things happening this summer. And if you're not in Barcelona and you want some support and you want something online, then I have my audio program. I have all of these replays that you can catch up on if you missed any week's class, that there are plenty of replays around. And also one-on-one sessions are continuing. So even though I will be on a holiday, there will be a few sessions, a few available slots for one-on-one sessions over the summer. So if you want to really step into a sense of calm, clarity, and confidence, that this is something that, there's an opportunity for you if you want to really understand your mind and come away with this really powerful toolkit of NLP and working with the body and really connecting to yourself in a wonderful way. That's possible. So you can just send me a message and book a free call. This is a thing, because working with a coach, working with a therapist, working with a professional, is great to try things out. You can't just pick the first one and be this is who I'm going to work with. Explore, find who resonates for you. And if you want to find out a little bit more about how I work and what I do in one-on-one sessions, I offer a 15-minute free call. So you can have that, the link's on my website, and you can just book a session, a little mini free call, and then we can chat more and then go from there. So yes, thank you so much for joining. I will be back next week, and there'll be just a couple of weeks more. The last one will be on the 22nd of July. So there's today, and then we got next week, and then the week after, and then there'll be a break of these classes over the summer. So 2 more classes coming up. If you've got any topic requests, let me know. I can add them to the list. And it's your chance to get free coaching. So sending much love. Thank you for being here, and thank you for being you.